Hey guys, Dave Watts with Winwell Tennis, and today we're here with Arno again, and we are going to talk about 3 keys to a better forehand. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first key to Arno's forehand, and Arno's got a really solid forehand here, is his unit turn. Okay, he gets prepared very quickly, as we'll go back and look through in some of the footage. And so Arno, when you go ahead and make your turn, can you do that ready position? Okay, so, and then turn. So when he turns, one of the things you'll notice is he gets this arm out to counterbalance him. This also helps him space his body from the ball. His racket head here is up, okay? And as he goes back, one of the main things that you can try and feel, go ahead and go back to the ready position. As he goes back, he wants to feel that this arm is gonna help him take the racket back. So as he turns, so he keeps it on, and then naturally players will separate. Some players will hold all the way to back here, like especially if they're waiting on a ball, they'll hold here. But he starts separating right as the racket kind of crosses this shoulder. So it's different for different players. But what you don't want to do, so go ahead and go back to your ready position, is keep your shoulders square and then just take the racket back like this. So make sure that you're turning as a unit, right? So you have your ready position here and you rotate. So you'll see that on all his forehands, and that facilitates a great shoulder turn, counterbalances himself with his opposite arm, helps himself space the ball with his opposite arm. So that just does a number of things to get him ready to hit the ball. It also gets the racket up here ready to fall into the slot, which leads us into step 2. Okay, so step 2, the second key is really being able to relax the swing from the arm and let the weight of the racket, the momentum that you're generating by letting the racket head fall and swinging it back up, letting that hit the ball, okay, and kind of enhancing that momentum, right? So I like to think about it as like if you've got a skateboarder coming down a half pipe, and the skateboarder's coming down the half pipe, and as the skateboarder reaches the bottom of the half pipe, you're just going to kind of push the skateboarder and help the skateboarder get back up the other side of the half pipe. So you're using the momentum and you're kind of enhancing it. Okay, the smoothness can also be associated with like maybe taking a paddle through water. Okay, if you want to move a lot of water, it's a long, fluid motion as opposed to a short, choppy motion where maybe you use too much hands, okay, and not the big muscles with the shoulders. So from here, as he goes here, he lets this racket fall and relaxes it down. He really does kind of an ATP style thing where his racket is on the outside of his hand, and then when he relaxes and pulls forward, puts that racket right there in the slot and creates a lot of racket speed very quickly, where it's not necessary. There's a lot of great players who don't put the racket in this position, okay, but it does help to add that quick power, okay, power with a very shortened swing so you can pick up balls very quickly. Okay, yeah, as opposed to something where his racket goes back here and then comes in. But either way, his racket gets into a slot. It's just putting the racket here creates a little more racket speed. So he comes here, relaxes, and then goes into step number 3. Okay, so the third key to a great forehand is the finish or the follow-through. Okay, you can have a number of different follow-throughs depending on the situation. Okay, sometimes you are going to finish a little lower, maybe around the hip, sometimes around the rib cage, sometimes over the shoulder, sometimes even a reverse finish. Okay, you can have a number of different follow-throughs, but one of the main things you want to pay attention to is make sure that you have a follow-through, and that your follow-through, that if you focus on the follow-through rather through the swing, it'll help you make a fluid swing. Okay, one of the things we really don't want to do is hit and stop, okay? And Arno was kind of pointing out to me in between takes that one of the things that he's focused on a lot is making sure that he has a nice follow-through for the sake of injury prevention, because if you kind of try and stop everything too quickly, you're putting a lot of stress on the muscle, right, that you don't necessarily need to, right? Is that kind of what you were saying about it?
And the follow-through applies to a lot of different sports, whether it's golf or baseball. I mean, it's a law that following through reduces the stress on the shots.
Yeah, so you're just allowing the natural momentum to slow down on its own if you just let the stroke kind of complete itself, so to speak. And so making sure that as you relax and swing, if you just have kind of this picture in mind, right, where your weight is shifted and you're on balance and you're finishing, for the most part, a little bit higher for kind of the strokes that we're working on, that should lead to a pretty solid shot, as opposed to these kind of T-Rexy finishes that a lot of players, you see a lot of recreational players do, where their arms in really tight and they're playing here. So that long follow through should really help you with your game. Okay, so the 3 keys to the forehand, just reviewing, are: 1, making a great unit turn, okay, making sure that you get a nice shoulder turn and that you use your arms as a unit together, okay. 2 is really understanding how to let the racket fall and relax into the swing, okay, making sure that you're using the weight of the racket to hit the ball and just trying to enhance that momentum as opposed to forcing or muscling the ball. The 3rd key is making sure that you have a picture and a follow through in mind, and then executing that follow through, if anything, for the sake of injury prevention, making sure that you're not forcing your muscles to a stop and not allowing that momentum to kind of finish its cycle. So, unit turn, relaxing, letting the weight of the racket hit the ball, and following through are 3 keys to a much smoother, better, more controlled, more powerful forehand. I'm Dave Watts with Winwell Tennis, and this is Arno. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave questions or comments below. Thanks a lot.